Shea Stadium in New York, WWOR-TV presents New York Mets baseball. As tonight, the Mets meet the Red Sox in a charity affair. Mets Baseball 87 is brought to you tonight by Budweiser. Beechwood H for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Manufacturers Hanover, the financial source worldwide. By Nissan, who invites you to test drive a hot new Nissan car or truck and see why Nissan makes you feel like driving. By the American Express card. Don't leave home without it. By your good old skies, the New York, New Jersey, and Southern Connecticut Oldsmobile dealers. By RC Cola. People go out of their way for the taste of RC. And by Express Mail, next day service from the post office. Pitching for the Red Sox tonight, right-hander Steve Crawford, who's 0-1 with an ERA of 7.02. And on the mound for the Mets, right-hander Dave Cone, 0-2 with an ERA of 6.28.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Kiner, along with Tim McCarver, Steve Zabriskie, and Rusty Staub, all set for the second meeting between the Red Sox and the Mets in this charity affair. It was back on October 27th that the Mets became the world's champions, playing the Boston Red Sox right here in this ballpark. Time sure flies when you're having a good time.
Yeah, it really does. It seems like only yesterday, and of course the infamous Game 6 as far as the Red Sox are concerned. The game where with 2 out and nobody on in the bottom of the 10th inning, 3 straight singles, the wild pitch by Bob Stanley, Mookie Wilson jumping over the ball, and then the ball that Mookie hit, the little trickle down 38 hopper that went through the legs of Bill Buckner. It seems like only yesterday that happened.
Well, it's going to happen right again here tonight, and a beautiful night for baseball. The first good day the Mets have seen on this homestand. And right now, let's go down to Steve Zabriskie.
Thanks, Ralph, and hi, everybody. Well, today was a big day for Dwight Gooden. Dwight Gooden pitched batting practice outside here at Shea Stadium for the first time, and that is a big step in his road back to being on the mound for a real game for the New York Mets sometime soon. We talked with pitching coach Mel Stottlemyre about his progress, who felt that it was, in fact, a big, big day for Doc.
Well, today was a big day. Dwight threw batting practice outside for the first time, and I was really impressed with his outing. He had a great deal of fun out there, and that was really important. I think he got a lot accomplished. I think it was a good workout not only for him, but for some of the hitters to face him, and they were very impressed, I think, by what he threw. He's come along very good. If anything, is ahead of the schedule that we had for him, although we can't push him too fast, but I've tried to hold him back each time.
And Roger McDowell appears to be making also significant progress and be ahead of schedule.
Well, Roger threw in the bullpen today and threw off of the mound for the first time. He's thrown a lot and has been in a long throwing program that I've had him on, and his arm is really coming along rather fast. I was a little concerned on how he's going to be able to handle the turn and the stretch and that sort of thing on the mound, but he felt great after he threw on his side. So that really is a great encouragement for both of those guys. It looks like are going to be back hopefully before very long.
Well, that preseason question as to just how the absence of Gooden and McDowell would affect the Mets has long since been answered. It has affected the ball club negatively, no doubt. But there are some encouraging signs, not only their individual progress, but the way the pitching staff has risen to the occasion of late has to bode well for the Mets in the months left in the season yet to come. We'll be back with the start of this charity game between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Mets, a rematch of the '86 World Series, right after this for Budweiser.
Well, Keith Hernandez at first base for the Mets for this charity game.
The Director of Amateur Baseball Relations.
And at second base, Tim Tuffle. The shortstop, Rafael Santana. And the shortstop, followed by the third baseman, Howard Johnson. Mookie Wilson in left field. Out in center field, Lenny Dykstra. And in right field, Lee Mazzilli. The catcher, Barry Lyons. And on the mound, David Cone. David with a record of 0-2 so far this year. An earned run average is 6.86. He has walked 14, struck out 12, given up 26 hits, and 19 2/3 innings of work. David Cone, who has never faced the Boston Red Sox.
And the lineup for the Red Sox, Ellis Burks, the center fielder, leading off. He was recalled April 29th by the Crimson Hose. Marty Barrett, who tied Bobby Richardson in base hits for the World Series last year. He had 13 hits, hitting in all 7 games. He's batting second. Wade Boggs, and what can you say about him as a hitter? He's batting third. Left fielder Mike Greenwell, who's been hitting well lately, batting 4th. Dwight Evans, the fine right fielder, hitting 5th. Bill Buckner batting 6th and playing first base. Ed Romero, the shortstop, hitting 7th. Rich Gedman, recently signed. We'll have something to say about Rich. He's batting 8th. And Steve Crawford on the mound batting 9th.
And David Cohn getting set to go, and the first pitch of the game. Ellis Burks, the batter, and he hits it in the air to shallow right field. Burks hitting at 348 before that swing. And coming up to make the play, Lee Mazzilli. So 1 pitch and 1 away. Burks brought up from Pawtucket, where he was playing on April the 29th. And now the batter will be Marty Barrett. Barrett hitting 235 this year with no home runs, 5 runs batted in. And as Tim pointed out, Barrett hit 13 base hits in that World Series last year and hit in all 7 of the ball games. But the big one, he was the last out of the 7th game as the Mets became the world's champions when Jesse Orozco struck him out with a high fastball. And there's the fastball that's fouled back out of play. Marty Barrett batting .433 in that World Series with 13 hits and 30 at-bats. Did a great job defensively. He is a fine second baseman. Red Sox having their problems so far this year, and the curveball for a ball, 1 ball, 1 strike. The Red Sox with a record of 12 and 15. They're in 4th place, 8.5 games back. And they're led by Johnny McNamara.
Manager of the year in the American League last year.
And the curveball fouled off. Barrett throws his bat at the ball as he's full completely on the pitch.
Mentioned Barrett's 13 hits, tying Bobby Richardson, who had 13 hits back in 1964. And Lou Brock had 13 hits in a World Series in 1968.
1-2 the count. And David Cohn drops down for that sidearm curveball that slides outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Barrett, with 12 hits so far this year and 51 at-bats, will be followed by Wade Boggs, and the fastball hit up the middle, and it'll be a base hit. So in the last 8 games that Barrett has played against the Mets, he has had a base hit.
Number 26.
Batting only .235 entering the game, and really what players try to do this early in the season is to maintain a good stroke if they've had one, and if they haven't had one, they work on a few things.
And here's a fellow who has a great stroke, Wade Boggs.
Wow.
Batting champion in the American League last year, hitting .316 this year with 4 home runs, 11 runs batted in, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Boggs hit .290 in the World Series, 9 hits and 31 at-bats, did not have a home run, and he drove in 3. Outstanding hitter. Mets playing as though he were a right-hand batter pull hitter. And the slider high, 1 ball, 1 strike. There's Boggs' average in that World Series last season.
Had a game-winning hit in Game 2 here at Shea Stadium. If you remember, the Red Sox won the first game 1-0, and then won Game 2, and Wade Boggs with the game-winning RBI.
Mets going to Boston with a deficit of 2 games down, and then won 2 in a row to get back in a 2-2 tie, and then lost the 5th game. That put them behind 3-2 in the series. Then they came back here and won the 6th and 7th. Getting rid of some of those World Series pennants right there. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Boggs. Boggs off to a very slow start this year, but has it going right now. He has been hot.
Been hot ever since that fight April 30th up in Seattle when Steve Crawford, the starting pitcher tonight, knocked down Jim Presley.
And this ball fouled away.
And Boggs, before that game, was hitting .246 and has really come on strong since that time. However, he's done it under a bit of physical duress. He was hurt in that fight. Those pile-ups can hurt a bunch of guys.
2-2 the count. And a good fastball strikes Boggs out.
Number 39. Mike Greenwell.
Good high fastball right here, and a good place to pitch a hitter like Wade Boggs, because he can't really drive the ball the other way. He can hit the green monster, but not the blue monster here at Shea.
Now the batter will be Mike Greenwell. Greenwell hitting .375 with 3 home runs, 12 runs batted in. Jim Rice got hurt. He was hit twice on the elbow in 2 consecutive ball games and had to go out of action. Greenwell took over in left field, and he's been just tearing it apart. .375, 3 home runs, 12 runs batted in. He was 0 for 3 in the World Series. And the fastball fouled back, 1 ball, 1 strike.
And he was the reason that both benches up in Seattle unloaded, I understand. Matter of fact, I saw the clip as you see Don Baylor sitting there. But Greenwell, they threw the right-handed pitcher, and I forget his name right now, but he threw a pitch inside. Greenwell charged the mound, and then later on Crawford retaliated. So they had 2 fights in that ball game.
1 ball, 1 strike to count. And the curveball in there, strike 2.
Everybody thought the Mets were the only team that fought, right?
Mets have had a fight this year. They did have one in spring training, though. Al Nipper hit Strawberry with a pitch, his second pitch. And this ball hit out to left field. Mookie Wilson is there, and that will retire the side. 1 hit, 1 left, the score at the end of 1/2 inning. The Red Sox, nothing, the Mets coming up. Now here's a word from 9X Yellow Pages. Steve Crawford on the mound for the Red Sox, 0-1 this year, 7.02 ERA, 1 walk, 17 strikeouts, 20 hits, and 16 2/3 innings.
And the lineup for the Mets, Lynn Dykstra leading it off, Tim Tuffle at second, batting second, Keith Hernandez, the recently named captain, batting third, Barry Lyons behind the plate hitting fourth, Mookie Wilson batting fifth, and Lee Mazzilli batting sixth. Third baseman Howard Johnson hitting seventh, Santana at short batting eighth, and David Cohn hitting ninth.
And Len Dykstra takes his first pitch. It's ball 1. Dykstra hitting .307. 2 home runs, 7 runs batted in. And this ball hit to deep short. Tough play for the shortstop Romero, and he can't make the play. So Dykstra, who hit .296 in the World Series with 2 home runs and 3 RBIs. Singles here as he leads it off for the Mets.
A little punch shot by Lenny, and Romero feels the ball and realizes he cannot throw out Dykstra.
So that puts Dykstra on and brings up Tim Tuffle. Tuffle hitting .417 with 1 home run, 7 runs batted in for the season. Tuffle hit .444 in the World Series, 4 hits and 9 at-bats, 1 home run. That was off of Bruce Hurst in a losing cause for the Mets. And that's ball 1.
Kind of nice in the pregame ceremony. Lou Gorman and Tommy Holmes throwing out the first ball. Lou Gorman, a dyed-in-the-wool Red Sox fan. General manager of the Red Sox. Tommy Holmes, Ralph, you were telling me, instrumental in the Jimmy Fund, right?
Now, there is Lou Gorman right there and his wife.
Mary Lou. Haywood Sullivan in the back.
Former Major League catcher. And Tommy Holmes was a big star for the Boston Braves, and with Ted Williams was instrumental in getting the Jimmy Fund off the ground.
The Jimmy Fund and the New York Amateur Baseball League will be the recipients of this charity game. Last year, $260,000 was raised.
And the count 2-1 as Steve Crawford misses. Pitching to Tim Tuffle. Tuffle 4 for 9 in that World Series with a .444 average. And the fastball for ball 3, 3 balls and 1 strike. Steve Crawford was 1-0 in the World Series with an earned run average of 6.23. He was in 3 games in relief as you look at Captain Keith Hernandez. And a strike call off the fastball.
Crawford's only walked 1 this year. He struck out 17. That's an outstanding ratio.
2-2 the count. Dykstra, the runner at first, gets some attention. He should be running with the pitch. Dykstra with 4 stolen bases in the regular season out of 5 attempts. Another good move to first. Crawford appeared in relief in the World Series, did not start a game. Dykstra running, and the ball is ball 4. So the Mets have runners at first and second. With no one out here in the bottom half of the first, Red Sox did not score in their half as Johnny McNamara looks on. John won't give you much emotion. Keith Hernandez, the batter. Keith hitting .255, 4 home runs, 13 runs batted in. In the World Series, he had .231. Drove in 4 runs with no home runs. C for captain. How about that? I never saw that before.
Nor have I.
He looks like a captain. Should be a captain of a Spanish Army platoon or something like that. He really looks the part. The old
Spanish
days.
Armada, huh?
Right. 1 strike to count. And strike 2. Hernandez in the World Series batted .231, but boy, he got some big hits. 2-run base hit off Hurst with the Mets up 3-2 in that game. That was in the 6th inning. The Mets won it 8-5. Struck him out. That base hit coming in that 7th game when the Mets came from behind to win.
That was in the 6th inning. They were trailing in the bottom of the 6th. Crawford buzzes the fastball by Hernandez, and Keith accounting for the first 2 runs on an inside fastball. He dumped it into left center.
And the batter will be Barry Lyons. Barry, of course, not with the Mets in the World Series. Batting .333, 2 home runs, 2 runs batted in. It's been up 12 times this year. And that pitch a ball.
How about out in San Diego right now, Ralph? It's 17-10. St. Louis over San Diego, and it's just going up that it's a final.
Wow.
17-10. St. Louis over San Diego.
Good pitching to him. Off-speed pitch, ball, and it's 2 balls and no strikes.
Sounds like a game in which Rolf Panershka had to kick a couple of field goals. Huh? Panershka, field goal kicker for the San Diego Chargers.
And Carlton working with a 2-ball, no strike count. And the fastball is foul. There's Jim Rice, who is sitting this one out. Mentioned that he got hit in that elbow in 2 consecutive ball games at left elbow by pitchers. Rice so far this year hitting only .214 with no home runs and 3 runs batted in.
How about that? He's sitting with the ice bag right there and keeping it handy.
2-2. Mets with runners at first and second, 1 man out, and there's that ice bag. Use that for some other thing. Crawford reading his signs from Rich Gedman, back in action again. This ball hit in the air to shallow right field. Dewey Evans right there. And he makes the play. Dykstra tags at second and holds there. Evans, a fine defensive ball player with a great arm.
He has been right there since 1973 when he came up with the Red Sox. You know, Dwight Evans, we could talk about this. This is, I guess, an arguable career. He's had a great career, or arguable in the sense that, what about a guy like Dwight Evans for the Hall of Fame? You know, he has really had a steady, very, very good career. And he's the type of player that would, I think, be a borderline player as far as his entry to the Hall of Fame.
Put up some numbers, a lot like Billy Williams in some ways. Billy Williams never won an RBI title or a home run title, but constantly was a outstanding hitter.
426 home runs.
Now it's Mookie Wilson's turn. Mookie hitting .357 for the year with 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, and he fouls off the pitch, 1-1.
Evans now with 296 lifetime home runs, a 270 or so lifetime average, closing in on 1,000 RBIs. He's already scored over 1,000 runs.
And a fine defensive player.
9-time Gold Glover.
Runners at first and second, 2 men away. No score in the game. We're just underway. And Mookie fouls it back. You know, when you see those foul balls by Mookie, it puts you into the 7th game of the World Series when Mookie had to count 2 balls and 2 strikes, fouled off 3 pitches, and then the wild pitch just about hitting him. Mets got a run and got a run at the second. That was the winning run, go-ahead run. And then Mookie hitting that ground ball after a couple more foul balls down to Buckner at first. What a quality at bat.
Oh, boy.
That time.
Was it ever. A lot of people, the controversy is whether the ball was a pass ball or a wild pitch. It was scored a wild pitch. A lot of people think that Gedman should have caught the ball, and I'm one that thinks that he should not have caught that ball.
6th game of the World Series, the turnaround game. And this ball chopped out to third. Boggs throws across the diamond, picks up the out to retire the side. So the Mets threatened to not score. A hit and a walk and 2 left. The score at the end of 1. The Red Sox nothing, the Mets nothing. Now here's a word from the good olds guys. Top of the second, no score in World Series game number 1. The Boston Red Sox won it, and this is how they got their only run.
Jim Rice will score on the error by Tim Tuffle, the ball hit by Rich Gedman. And how did Rice get to second base? He walked and went to second. Never thought about this until now. On a wild pitch. So a wild pitch played prominently in at least 2 of those ball games. Game 6, as you mentioned before,
right,
and certainly game 1. Red Sox won it 1-0.
And the first pitch as David Cohn pitches to Dewey Evans, fastball fouled away. Evans hitting .267 this year with 5 home runs, 21 RBIs. Batted .308 in the World Series with 2 home runs and 9 runs batted in. 1 ball, 1 strike. Again, the fastball. And the good curveball. 1-2. David Cohn has excellent stuff.
It's a matter of corralling it.
Drops down and throws a, what you might say, a slider, probably a curveball that didn't break.
That's unethical. It ought to be against the rules for have a pitcher to drop down in an exhibition game.
And that is right. It is against the rules. I've read those rules. Fly ball to right field, and right there is Lee Mazzilli.
Now coming to the plate, number 6, Bill
David's Conehead. All right. He'll be all right. That looks like Howard Johnson on the right there.
And here's Bill Buckner, and listen to the reaction from this crowd. He gets a standing O.
I have seen sarcastic applauses before, but none more so than this greeting for Buckner.
And the fastball to Buckner fouled off. Of course, Buckner was the man who made that error that allowed the Mets to win the 6th game of the World Series. That kept it going to 7 where they won that too. Batting .269 this year, no home runs, 14 runs batted in.
We mentioned the wild pitches. No wild pitch in World Series history more famous than Mickey Owens in 1941. Of course, that was a pass ball.
And a high fly ball to right. Mazzilli charging. 2 men away.
But, Ralph, the point I was trying to make, I think Mickey Owens certainly has paid his dues as far as that mistake in World Series play, and I think Bill Buckner will never live that down either.
And that was Hugh Casey pitching, and he threw a spitter. No one actually knows it was a spitter, but that's what Hugh Casey threw. And the ball dipped out of the way down and went by Owens, and from there on, the Yankees made a big rally, came back to win it, and they won the World Series. And this first pitch to Ed Romero, a fastball, little chin music. Not supposed to do that in an exhibition game either.
No.
Fastball foul back, 1 ball, 1 strike. Billy Buckner started his career with the Dodgers, and they're talking it over about the ovation he got here.
There's Dave Henderson to Buckner's right, and then Don Baylor.
Good fastball. 1-2 the count.
Of course, they're laughing now, but there was no laughter after Game 6 last year.
Mets were 1 strike away from being defeated in the World Series when that rally started. And again, that sidearm slider, and it's fouled off. Count stays at 1-2. Incidentally, the Red Sox beat the California Angels when they were 1 strike away from losing the playoffs in the American League to the Angels. They came back to defeat the Angels and to get in the World Series. Curveball and ball 2, 2-2. So, 2 heads to that coin. To Santana, and that will do it. 1, 2, 3 inning for David Cone. The score at the end of 1.5. The Red Sox nothing, the Mets nothing. Now here's a word from Manufacturers Hanover. Bottom half of the second, and in the second game of the World Series last year, little replay of what took place.
That was when Dwight Gooden and Roger Clemens locked horns, the much ballyhooed meeting of the 2 fine young right-handers. But it was kind of the pitching matchup that wasn't. See Dave Henderson hitting one of his 2 World Series home runs.
Neither pitcher staying through the ball game. And Game 2 going to the Boston Red Sox. So we have Tom Bolton as the new pitcher,
Number 13.
replacing the starting pitcher Steve Crawford. Bolton with a record of 2-1, no saves. He's been in 5 games, has an earned run average of 5.54. Tom Bolton.
So a chance to look at the young left-hander here. It's no score, bottom of the second inning. Lee Mazzilli the batter. Actually, that record for Tommy Bolton was for the Pawtucket Red Sox, shortened to Paw Sox, they call them. Pawtucket, Rhode Island, of course, about 60 miles south of Boston, and the AAA affiliate has been for years. Scene of the longest game ever played.
33 innings. The winning pitcher in that game was Bob Ojeda. Pitched the last inning, the 33rd inning. It took place about 2 months after the game started.
Base hit for Mazzilli. So Maz leads off the second with a base hit. And the Red Sox remember Maz's base hits in last year's World Series. 2 key pinch hits in Games 6 and 7. 75th anniversary of Fenway Park, the lovely lady near the Charles River in Boston.
And that ballpark never made the front page when they made their debut. It was the day the Titanic was sunk.
Howard Johnson, the batter. And the ball gets by Gedman. So they scored a wild pitch on Tommy Bolton. And Mazzilli at second with nobody out.
Now, Mazzilli had that key pinch hit in the 6th game and a key pinch hit in the 7th game of the World Series. Lee hit 400 in the series, 2 for 5 as you look at the wild pitch. Mazzilli now down at second base.
strike, 1-1 to Howard Johnson. Well, the Mets have been involved, very nice touch, have been involved in charity games since 1963. Swing and a miss, 1 and 2, and they've given $40,000 a year for the last several years to amateur baseball programs here in the New York area.
Never forget that first game between the Mets and Yankees in the Mayor's Trophy game. Casey Stengel took the Mets over to Yankee Stadium, and he started his best pitcher against the Yankees in the charity game. He wanted to beat the Yankees so badly that he put Carlton Woolley on the mound, and the Mets won that game at Yankee Stadium.
Mayor's Trophy game only recently, I should say only recently did they discontinue the Mayor's Trophy game. This is the second game in which the Red Sox and the Mets have shared charities, contributions to charities. As Johnson goes down, 1 away, Mazzilli still at second. We're in the second.
Coming up for the Mets.
All right, here,
Number
Bolton
3.
comes back with a fastball to knees, and Howard, who was in the World Series and didn't have a hit in 5 at-bats, goes back to the bench.
And Rafael Santana will be facing the left-handed offerings of Tom Bolton.
Little note about Howard Johnson. He was the 27th man to play on World Championship teams in both leagues.
There goes Mazzilli, and Gedman's throw is high. Mazzilli with a tremendous jump, and he's at third with 1 out.
Well, a good stolen base here as Mazzilli gets over to third where he can score on an out. Only 1 man away. No contest there.
Mazzilli's second in all-time stolen bases for the Mets. Mookie Wilson, the all-time leader. Mazzilli with 138 stolen bases. And it's 2-0 to Santana. The Mets travel to Atlanta after tonight's game, a big 3-game series down at Fulton County Stadium. Then they go to Cincinnati for 2. And Houston for 2, and that's what Ralph was talking about. Mazzilli stole that run. It's 1-0 New York.
Well, Rafael Santana batted .250 in the World Series against the Red Sox and drove in 2 runs. Right here, he drives in a run on a ground out.
Those are exhibition handshakes that those guys are giving. Not really sincere when you score a run in an exhibition game.
Well, it is for a great cause, and the
It really is.
players don't mind playing in them that much.
But you do mind shaking hands after a guy.
Don't give me that. I don't need no high five. This run doesn't go on any record.
Exhibition games are probably where low fives started. Guys were too tired and really didn't care about giving high fives. It's 1 and 2 to Cone. 2 outs, 1-0 New York. Cone with a chopper. He chopped Cone toward third. That's foul.
I asked him if when was the last time he batted? He batted, of course, this year for the Mets. He says it goes all the way back to high school.
Which wasn't that long ago.
He's fairly young, isn't he? He can remember anyway.
Got him on strikes. Cone's out of there. Second strikeout for Bolton. But the Mets score 1 run. They have a hit. Mazzilli's stolen base. Stole a run. It's 1-0 after 2. And we'll be back after this word from Nissan. Well, the Mets' #1 catcher is now playing first base, spelling Keith Hernandez, and the Boston Red Sox #1 catcher, Rich Gedman, and boy, are they glad he's back.
And if you want to watch one of the most peculiar batting swings in baseball history, this is the man to watch.
Little nubber to right field, and there's Mazzilli, 1 away.
Gedman swings at every pitch, and he takes the top hand off of the bat.
Coming to the plate.
This is the so-called Charlie Lau theory.
The pitcher.
Walt Reniak, the hitting coach of the Red Sox, teaches this.
Dwight Evans does the same thing, and I think Evans' stance is more unorthodox than Gedman's.
Yeah, but Gedman hits out of that crouch, and he opens up. He does everything that you would say don't do. Not a bad hitter. He gets away with it. He has that much talent.
He's an excellent hitter. Tommy Bolton chops one in front of Cone. And Cone throws him out. 2 quick outs here in the 3rd inning.
The thing I've never understood,
The
Tim,
center fielder.
Ted Williams is the hitting instructor for the Red Sox in spring training, the greatest hitter in the world, one of the greatest of all time. No argument on that one.
Nope.
He teaches the opposite of what Reniak, who couldn't hit a lick, teaches. Or Charlie Lau, as a matter of fact. Charlie Lau was a 3rd-string catcher and never did hit.
Sometimes great hitters can't be good hitting instructors,
I'll
however.
guarantee you Ted Williams is a good one.
He talks it very well, but he talks it from his standpoint.
If you had 2 people down there and I said, tell me how to hit, I wouldn't listen to either one of Lau or Reniak. I'd say, Ted, I got to listen to you. Even if I don't understand you, I got to listen to you.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. As far as listening to Ted, I don't think you can quibble with any of his theories, with the exception of the uppercut.
Well, I believe in the uppercut. The ball's coming down to the hitter on a plane. That's a downward plane, and to get on that plane, you have to swing up.
Oh, that's what Ellis Burks does. He's not going to end up... Oh, yes, he is. Now, see what that Ted Williams theory will do for you?
Hit the ball in the air and see what happens.
Exactly right. A double for Burks.
Well, Santana back in action again, has trouble. He loses this ball, and it drops in, and it will be scored as a base hit.
The second baseman.
So Ellis Burks,
Barrett.
coming up from Pawtucket on April 29th, gets a little help there from Rafael Santana.
Marty Barrett, the hitter. Let's carry that a step further. Ted Williams isn't with the ball club all year either.
That's true.
You got to have a guy that's going to see you every day. And that's, what Reniak does. Williams, of course, in spring training, spends a lot of time and loves to talk about hitting.
Well, the one thing about hitting instructors, you have to be there. There's no doubt about it. But hitting instructor in the regular season should just teach and pick up fundamentals that a batter might be doing wrong. But his theory in hitting is expounded all year long, contrary to Ted Williams' theory. Incidentally, Lou Piniella is going back to being the hitting instructor of the Yankees.
Well, he was a fine hitter, I'll tell you that. Burks at second, 2 outs. Marty Barrett the batter. Barrett singled his first time up, 1-0, New York. Second annual Red Sox Mets charity affair. And Barrett goes down on strikes. That's the second strikeout for David Cone. And the Red Sox fail to score in the 3rd. It's 1-0 New York, middle of the 3rd, and we'll be back after this word from BMW. Fans, the Mets play the San Francisco Giants Saturday, May 16th at 7:05, and do we have a treat for you? All fans 14 and under will receive an official replica Mets baseball glove, courtesy of Nestle Crunch and Raisinets. Tickets are available at all Ticketron outlets, at Shea Stadium's advanced ticket window, or you can call 718-507-TIXX during regular business hours for all ticket information.
Well, fans, spring fever is at Shea, and you can be a part of it by attending Mets home games in May. You can earn a 1986 Rawlings official World Series baseball. All you have to do is purchase $150 worth of tickets to games in May and save the rain check ticket stubs from these games. For details on how you can redeem your ticket stubs, pick up the special Rawlings offer, which is available at Shea's advanced ticket window, or call the Mets at 718-507-TIXX during regular business hours, and they will be happy to send you the order form. For more information, call 718-507-TIXX during business hours.
Len Dykstra, the batter. Lenny singled his first time up with infield hit. 1-0 New York, bottom of the 3rd inning. Grounded off the glove of Bolton, and Dykstra's going to have another infield hit.
Well, Lenny hitting the ball on the ground again, chopping it off the glove. And Marty Barrett, the second baseman, has no play as he barehands the ball. Good pickup. So the Mets have had leadoff base hits in every inning.
And Tim Tuffle, the batter, he walked his first at bat. Tim's off to a good start, batting .417. One home run, that was a game winner. He has 7 RBIs. There goes Dykstra, grounded, and it hits Dykstra. So it's a base hit for Tuffle, and Dykstra's out of there, and that should never happen.
That's the second time it's happened to Dykstra this year. Of course, it doesn't mean anything here to speak of, but he gets hit by the batted ball, an automatic base hit for the batter, and the runner automatically out. Lenny not looking till the last second. Now he can't get out of the way of it.
That was an exhibition display of getting mad, I suppose, huh? Does it count in exhibition games?
Got to make it look good.
Carter takes a strike, his first at bat. In there for Hernandez. Gary trying to get his stroke back together. He is off to a sluggish start as he was last year. Sharply, Boggs to Barrett to Buckner. 3 Bs around the horn. 5-4-3 double play. It's 1-0 New York after 3. Rusty joins Ralph after this word from Express Mail.
Well, in Game 2 of the World Series, as you look at Steve Garvey and Jay Johnstone watching the ball game, Strawberry is struck out. That was Crawford pitching that pitch to Strawberry, and also now Bob Stanley comes in the ball game, and he gets Carter on a good breaking ball. So the relievers stop the Mets, and the Sox win it by a score of 9-3. Right here, it's 1-0. Rusty Staub joins us, and the first pitch by David Cohn is a breaking ball to Wade Boggs, and it's strike 1. Boggs struck out in the fastball. Rusty, his first time up. He doesn't strike out often.
No, he certainly doesn't, Ralph.
That's a pitch that he struck out on. This time he pops it up into shallow left. Santana, who had trouble earlier, puts this one away. Well, this game is brought to you in part by the New York Daily News, New York's hometown paper, and by Metropolitan Life and affiliated companies. Get Met, it pays. One away, and the batter will be Mike Greenwell. Mike flied out to left field his first time up.
This is one of the nicer nights for baseball at Shea Stadium in 1987.
It is the best one we've seen at home. And the curveball is strike. Not a bad day to play golf today, huh? Mets flying their World Championship flag. Of course, it's up there all the time. They're not doing it because Boston is here. Strike 2.
You get bragging rights for a whole year, Ralph.
And Boston having their problems this year. 12-15 in 4th place, 8.5 games out of 1st.
They were telling me before the game that the first 4 hits of Mike Greenwell's career were home runs.
In the minor leagues, huh?
No, in the big leagues.
In the big leagues?
His first 4 hits, not his first 4 at-bats now, but the first 4 hits with some outs in between were home runs. In fact, he almost hit another one in Detroit. Just went foul, hit it, and his next hit was a double off a wall. Now, I don't know how many at-bats it was, but his first 4 hits were home runs. Unless they gave me the big fish story when I was down on the field today.
You can't trust those guys, you know.
Well, I was asking about him because he was swinging the bat very well in batting practice.
He's swinging the bat very well right now. Came into this game hitting .375. And Dewey Evans hits it to deep right field, but right there is Mazzilli. So a 1-2-3 inning, the second for David Cone. And the score at the end of 3.5 innings, the Mets won, the Boston Red Sox nothing. Now here's a word from the New York Daily News. Barry Lyons, the leader off for the Mets. Mets batting in the bottom of the fourth inning, leading 1-0, and the first pitch to Lyons, a ball. Barry flied out to right his first time up. Tom Bolton on the mound for the Red Sox. Steve Crawford started, worked 2 innings, and Bolton came in to start off the third. A drive to right, but Dewey Evans right there. Well, in World Series Game 3, Rusty, this was an exciting start off Oil Can Boy.
Certainly was, with the Mets down 2-0. Lenny Dykstra leading off Game 3. Boom! And I'll tell you what, the Mets at that time were a little nervous, and that surge of energy that he gave them right there really got them moving in the right direction. You can't have a better start than that.
And back to the action here at Shea. Mookie Wilson, the batter, and he takes a curveball for ball 1. Mookie grounded out his first time up. Another curve, ball 2, 2-0. Mookie was 7 hits in that World Series. Batted .269. Strike call, 2-1. And it's 3-1. You're watching Mets Baseball 87 on WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey. 3-1 the count. Now 3-2. It was 3 balls and 2 strikes on Mookie Wilson when he hit that ground ball that Buckner booted that gave the Mets a 6th game in their miraculous comeback. Ground ball in the hole and the base hit.
Wilson continuing to swing the bat very well. Just goes with his pitch up and away. Drives it hard on the ground. Base hit.
So the Mets have a runner at first with 1 away, and that'll bring up Lee Mazzilli. Lee with a base hit his first time up, and he has scored the only run of this game. Scored on a ground out. Lee manufactured that run when he stole second base. When he stole third base after a wild pitch put him on second. Santana hitting a ground ball was thrown out, and Mazzilli came in to score. That was back in the second inning. 1-0 to Lee Mazzilli. Rich Gedman and Tom Bolton talk it over. Gedman had to wait until May 1st before he could sign a contract.
Here's the Nissan scoreboard in the National League. A final 17-10. The Cardinals over the Padres. Giants and the Cubs are later. The Pirates and the Dodgers are later. And an American League score was Minnesota 5, Baltimore 2.
The count to Lee Mazzilli. One strike. Lee hit 400 in the World Series, 2 hits and 5 at bats, and 2 of his hits as a pinch hitter started rallies. 6th and 7th game.
Ralph, are we sure we got a baseball score in San Diego there? Goodness gracious, 17-10.
Wind must have been blown out. 3-1 now. Mookie Wilson, the runner at first base. David Johnson likes to run on a 3-1 count. Davey, the manager.
The Mets certainly have not been afraid to run in this exhibition.
There goes Mookie. It's hit sharply to the shortstop, and the ball is dropped by Barrett, but in the act of throwing, so Mookie is out on a fine play started by Ed Romero as he got the lead runner with Mookie running on the pitch.
As you said, Ralph, he gives a good feed, and that's definitely getting the ball out of the glove. Mookie Wilson is out. He's going to catch this ball. Now he's going to try to get it out of his glove. And the ball was a little bit up the line there, which made his glove go far away from his throwing hand. He had to try to come back to it and flipped it out of his glove, did not catch it.
And the batter will be Howard Johnson. Johnson called out on a fastball strike his first time up. One ball, one strike.
Young Tom Bolton featuring a lot of breaking balls. I would imagine that the Boston Red Sox have a little fear of those left-handers with the off-speed pitches all the time, as you see a ball inside. That big green monster in Boston. Bob Ojeda certainly was said to have had his problems in Boston, other than in the World Series when he pitched a fine ball game.
And we got to check out the change in the lineup here as the throw goes over to first. Steve Owen is playing shortstop. Steve making that fine play in the hard ground ball, and playing second base with Barrett out of the ball game is Romero, Ed Romero. Out in right field, Dave Henderson has taken over for Dewey Evans. So changes for the Red Sox. And it's ball four. That'll move Mazzilli down to second base. And the Mets now with runners at first and second and 2 men out here in the fourth, leading 1-0. And the batter will be Rafael Santana.
It's a good opportunity for Rafael Santana to get some at-bats after injuring himself a little bit. Get 3 or 4 at-bats in this game can be a big plus for him.
Santana drove in a run with a ground out to the shortstop his first time up. Mets leading 1-0. And again a breaking ball, but this one ball 1. Two balls, no strikes. Santana with 2 runs batted in the World Series, had 5 hits at 250. Off the end of the bat. 2 balls, 1 strike. Good crowd here tonight for this game.
Certainly is, Ralph. Everything is basically filled up. A lot of people in the top level. The upper level at the so-called at Shea Stadium.
Ground ball in the hole, a base hit. Mazzilli rounding third. And Lee will score, and the Mets lead 2-0 as Santana has driven in both runs.
Rafael Santana just staying back on this a little bit. Didn't hit it hard, but certainly found the right spot in the infield to hit it. Maz makes a very good turn at third base and scores the second run for the New York Mets. Okay, here it is. Watch this turn here. He cut that pretty short. Now, a little wide down there, but he knows he's in there.
And the way you make the turn on the bag is you hit it with the left foot. Foot away from the bag.
We're going to see one of the reasons why you should not catch. And a foul tip off the left shoulder of Rich Gedden. That's smarted.
David Cohn, the batter. David struck out his first time up. One strike to count. And the breaking ball hangs high, 1-1.
This is like a Mazzilli-Santana night. Mazzilli scores 2, Santana drives in 2.
Raffy back in action. Injured his shoulder, hitting a 2-base hit off of Mike Scott trying to stretch it into a triple, and he injured his shoulder sliding in head first into third. Cohen misses a fastball, 2-2.
We were speaking the other night about inexperienced hitters who are pitchers. You are looking at one in young David Cohn.
He hadn't had many chances to hit, has he? There he hits one pretty good, but it's a foul ball. That's some pretty good cuts up there.
That's a moral victory right there, Ralph.
Hitting a left-handed curveball, and even though it did sting,
yeah, he's holding his hand a little bit.
He says, I hit that curve. Look at the crowd here at Shea Stadium. The Mets and Red Sox have announced they are going to extend this charity game 2 more years. Popped it up into left field. And the catch is made as Mike Greenwell puts it away. Mets get 1 run on 2 hits. There was a walk. 2 runners left on base to score. At the end of 4, it's the Mets 2 and the Red Sox nothing. Now here's a word from American Express. Well, they say that Fenway Park is a burial ground for left-hand pitchers, but Bob Ojeda proves otherwise. Ojeda, against his former teammates, gets the win as the Mets win at 7-1, and Roger McDowell gets the save as the Mets win their first game of the series last year at Fenway Park. And now Bill Buckner, the batter. Bill greeted by the Mets here. He bounces this one right back to Cohn. Buckner flied out to right his first time up after getting a standing ovation in his first appearance since the World Series.
No more than our good friend Ralph Branca is ever going to get that Thompson home run off his shoulders. Bill Buckner, he will always be remembered for that one era. They had more jokes about buses going through his legs and not hitting him in Boston, and he's going to have to endure that.
And he's been a fine ball player throughout his career with the Dodgers, the Cubs, and the Red Sox. And he was playing on some very bad wheels. And Cohn working his 5th inning, misses for ball 2. Ed Romero, the batter. Romero started the game at shortstop, now playing second. And this fastball fouled off.
Romero seems to have taken the shortstop position in Boston, Ralph, from Spike Owen.
And he fouls off another fastball. Spike Owen hitting 139. That's not even his weight.
Well, Ed Romero only has a couple of RBIs, but he is hitting over 300 at this time. And manager John McNamara has gone to him as his regular shortstop. That's a pitch I hate. He dropped down on the side and threw a sidearm slider. I think that's one of the pitches that can get you in the most trouble.
It flattens out. It's not really that good a pitch. There he goes to the breaking ball, and he picks up the strikeout.
He's on top of that pitch. The ball moves real well. You throw that flat slider off on the side, and the ball just hangs there. He's on top of this ball. Ball goes down. See you later.
Cohn has given up just 2 hits, a single by Barrett in the first and a bloop single by Ellis Burks in the third. And that ball should have been caught, a high pop-up that Santana misplayed. Now the batter is Rich Gedman. Gedman flied out to right, and the breaking ball for ball 1. Gedman flying out to right field his first time up. We had a large discussion.
I heard it too, Ralph.
What do you think, Rusty?
Well, I think if you're a good hitter, you're going to hit. If they make you hit off a rolling bottle, you know.
I think his talent is there, but I think he hurts himself with his stance and with the way he swings at it.
Well, if you believe in what you're doing up there, that's half the battle. Okay, that's one thing you always have to remember with a hitter.
That hand comes off the bat, and he grounds out to Carter at first, who handles a tough hop. And the Red Sox go in order. 7 in a row for David Cohn. And the score at the end of 4.5 innings, it's the Mets 2 and the Red Sox nothing. Now here's a word from Budweiser. Well, in Game 4 of the World Series, the Red Sox leading 2-1. Carter takes care of everything as he hits this home run into the screen above the Green Monster. Carter came up again and did it again. So the Mets won that fourth ball game as Dykstra fouls off his first pitch. Dykstra 2 for 2 in the game with 2 infield base hits. To the first baseman, Pat Dodson, who fields the ball and makes the play.
The second baseman, Tim Tuffle.
I think most of the changes are straight up in this game.
That isn't Dodson at first base. That's Schaefer playing first base. Dodson sent down. So the Red Sox changing their positions defensively and offensively as you look at Tim Tuffle. Tuffle with a walk and a single in his 2 appearances. Mets 2 runs on 6 hits. The Red Sox no runs on 2. And a ground ball taken by Bolton and a throw to first base to Schaefer for the out. That will bring up Gary Carter. Batting for the second time, grounded into a double play his first time up. Keith Hernandez started at first base, batted once and struck out. Mets with a run in the second driven in by Santana, and a run in the fourth driven in by Santana, leading 2-0. That's ball 1. Ground ball foul, 1 ball, 1 strike. After this ball game, Carter and the Mets will be flying to Atlanta, Georgia. We'll leave Rusty Staub here in the Big Apple to take care of things.
I'll try to keep everything warm and comfortable here for you guys while you're gone, Ralph.
I like the way you turned the weather up today. That's the way it should be.
Well, I get a chance to play a little golf while you guys are on the road now.
I hope that handicap finally catches up with you. By Carter. Well, Gary has been in a batting slump. The best way to get out of one is to try and hit the ball through the middle, and Carter stays with this one and drills it to right.
This is exactly what he's got to do, Ralph, if he wants to get out of that slump. He has a big tendency to try to pull that front shoulder out under normal circumstances. He's so strong, he's an arm hitter. But to get out of slumps, going back through the middle and hard the other way, I think that's the best way you can get out of it.
And Dave Magadan takes over as the pinch runner for Carter, and he'll stay in the ball game and play first. Barry Lyons, the batter. Barry has flied to right twice. His last time he lined out to right. One strike.
Scorecard like today remind you of the first day of spring training. Looks like a chicken walk across this thing.
Oh, it's tough when they do this, isn't it? The runner at first base getting some attention. 1 ball, 1 strike to count. 2 men out. Bottom half of the 5th. The Mets leading 2-0. And Lyons hits it down the right field side. It'll be out of play.
Barry Lyons has certainly showed so far in 1987 that he will go the other way very well. His 2 home runs to right center field both hit extremely hard, obviously. Line drives almost in the same spot in right center.
cocks that bat over a little like Rico Carty used to do. Remember him?
A little bit.
Carty, an outstanding hitter.
The beat boy, as they used to call Rico Carty.
Chopped and fouled. Carty was a prize fighter when he was a kid. Never won a fight.
Well, I don't know if he won any, but he could certainly hit. He was one of the finest hitters over a 5-year period that there was in the big leagues.
You know, at one time I thought he might hit 400. He was that good a hitter. Had a great year, hit around 350. This ball hit the center, another line drive, but it's playable. And Burks makes a catch, and that'll do it. So the Mets, 1 hit and 1 man left on base. And the score at the end of 5 as Steve Zabriskie joins Rusty Staub. The Mets 2 and the Red Sox nothing. Now here's a word from the good olds guys.
And welcome back to Shea Stadium, and welcome my partner, Steve Zabriskie, to the booth.
Thanks a lot, Russ. Al Pedrique in the game for the Mets at third. Dave Magadan stays in the game at first base, and Tom Bolton bats for the second time tonight after tapping back to the pitcher his first time up. And he takes low from Dave Cohn for ball 1. 2-0 New York, top of the 6th inning. And it's ball 2.
And not to wish him any bad luck as this game goes on, but this is certainly a confidence-building outing for young David Cohn.
Something he's sorely needed. And it's 3-0 now to the opposing pitcher, Tom Bolton. Now, this is how it looks defensively. Wilson, Dykstra, and Mazzilli are still in the outfield, but the corners have changed. Pedrique at third and Magadan at first. 3-1 now to Bolton. Bolton, one of 2 young left-handers called up from Pawtucket for this game by the Red Sox. And Bolton taking all the way. It's 3-2. Slapped foul over the Red Sox dugout. Still 3-2. And Bolton may have broken his bat. Somebody's probably saying, how do you know?
This is his second at-bat ever. He may have never hit in kid ball, Little League.
Oh, come on. Everybody's hitting Little League, haven't they?
Well, he certainly has not been to bat in a long time.
Well, so far, David Cohn has had a very good outing, as those numbers will attest. Ball 4 is high. So Bolton walks to lead off the 6th inning, and let's go back and take another look at a highlight from Game 4 of the World Series last year. Len Dykstra hitting a home run that Dwight Evans felt should not have been a home run. Evans all the way back to the right field wall in Fenway, has the glove on the ball, but his arm and body hit against the railing, and the ball goes into the bullpen for a home run. Mets won that game 6-2.
That's a very tough fence to go into hard right there. And as much as that's his home ballpark, there's absolutely no doubt that he knew that that fence was a hard fence. And when he approached that ball, you have to be a little tentative, especially because he couldn't get back to the wall quick enough.
Breaking ball to Ellis Burks. Blowing away for ball 1. Burks is 1 for 2. Had a bloop double in the 3rd after flying to right in the 1st. Fastball gets away, and it's 2-0.
As you saw right there, he dropped down on the side and kind of, as they call it, he slung it. And when you sling the ball, it's very rarely a good pitch.
Strike 1 makes it 2 balls, 1 strike. Control has been David's problem. In fact, the walk he just issued to Bolton, the first of the night for him, which is also an encouraging sign. And Burks goes after the high fastball and pops it back out of play for strike 2, the count 2-2.
We've talked many times about Ron Darling since he's been throwing that split finger, having a tendency to come down on the side maybe a little bit too much, and it really affecting his curveball. David Cohn on top most of this night.
Swing and a miss, and a good play by Lyons on strike 3. Strikeout number 4 for Dave Cohn, and 1 out here in the 6th inning.
Well, this he's right on top of. Watch the delivery on this. mean, that is night and day.
So Burke's back to the dugout, and the batter will be Spike Owen, batting for the first time. Owen hitting 139, as Ralph mentioned earlier. That's the reason he is no longer the starting shortstop for the Boston Red Sox. And he takes the ball inside. Spike, another one of the many players to come out of the University of Texas collegiate baseball program, and head coach Cliff Gustafson, who has done such a great job for so many years there. Turned out some great ones. Fastball foul back. 1-1, and again you see from Spike Owen's swing that he too has got that Walt Reniak, Charlie Lau theory going.
Well, when you're hitting 139, no matter what you're doing, the hitting coach is going to make you do what he thinks is right. So he has got to go with the Walt Reniak theory right now until he proves he can hit more than 139.
Big curveball for strike 2, 1-2. The question is, however, did he start out the season like that? Is that maybe the reason he's hitting 139?
As I said, what you believe when you're at the plate is as important as anything. But I'm a believer of hitting off that back foot and pivoting and having a good turn on the ball and all this movement. I think it's, I don't think it's a positive.
Two and two. Well, it stands to reason that the fewer things you have to do in order to get the bat head into the hitting area and make contact on the ball, the less margin of error there is. And the more things you have to do, the more margin for error there becomes.
Well, that was my exact theory in hitting, Steve. I tried to make as little movement as possible.
That one squirts out high and away, and the count goes full now to Spike Owen, 3-2. 1 out, and Tom Bolton, the pitcher, at first.
One of Ted Williams' great theories was not moving your head forward when you're hitting. It should not, move 6 or 8 inches or a foot toward the pitcher. It should stay in the same plane as your body moves through the strike zone. That is very difficult to do with that one-handed forward theory.
And ball 4. So Barry Lyons out to talk to Cone, who has now walked 2 in the inning after walking no one through the first 5. And the Red Sox with runners at first and second and 1 out.
Here we're going to see David Cone on a bad pitch. That was kind of off to the side. Now watch him. You can tell he's not real happy with that. Can't exactly read all that. Probably shouldn't be able to.
Those expletives are best left deleted. Glenn Hoffman batting for the first time. Came in to play third base for Wade Boggs. He gets jammed, fouls one right back at us for strike 1. Hoffman hitting just 191 in limited duty. He did play more, of course, when Boggs was injured earlier in the year. There's that little sidearm slider that stays high. 1-1.
David Cone may be getting a little tired right now. Seems like he's not staying on top as often as he was during the early part of the game. Telltale sign.
Good breaking ball there. Did Hoffman swing? Yes, says first base umpire Greg Bonin, and it is strike 2, 1-2.
Such a difference in this pitch. He stays on top. That ball goes down and away. Mechanics, it's a big part of pitching. But fatigue could be a factor.
Sidearm slider. This time gets Hoffman. Second strikeout in the inning and the 5th strikeout of the night for David Cone.
This works, but I still don't like the pitch. Throws it from the side. Major league hitters are not going to move out just because you come side on. They're not going to move out of the batter's box. You're not going to make them shy away. You're going to have more bad pitches getting in the habit of throwing that pitch off to the side, in my personal opinion anyway, than you do than staying on top and throwing your good stuff. Everybody but Juan Marichal.
Here's Mike Greenwell. And he takes a breaking ball down and in. Again, Lyons makes a good stop on it. Ball 1. Ralph Kiner might add Ewell the Whip Blackwell.
Yes, but he threw from down there all the time. Juan Marichal is one of the few people who threw directly over the top, who could come not only on the side, but way on the side. He had 3 different locations he would deliver the ball from.
Fastball high, it's 2-0. What a job Greenwell has done while Jim Rice has been on the shelf. Greenwell has started the last 7 games for Rice and hit .440 with 3 homers and 12 RBIs in those 7 games. Pops this ball up in the infield. Tuffle moving towards second and now drifting back out toward the outfield, makes the catch. That ball was up there so long that the wind had a chance to do a lot of things to it, but Tuffle stays with it. 2 walks and 2 left in the inning, and 2 strikeouts for Dave Cone as well. After 5.5, still 2-0, New York leading Boston, and we're back after this for Manufacturers Hanover. Steve Zabriskie along with Rusty Staub back here at Shea, where the Mets are playing the 2nd annual charity game with the Boston Red Sox, and they announced it's going to be 2 more years as well. Russ, how did you feel about something like this when you were a player?
Some days when you're, like last year when the game was in September, there was a lot of pressure during that period of time. You really get concerned. But for the most part, when you have to do these things, you feel good about it when it's over.
And it is for a worthy cause.
I agree. I think everybody feels good when they do something like that.
Mookie Wilson hits the first pitch into short right field. But right there is a new right fielder to make the catch. Well, here's Dave Cone going off after the last half inning. And Rusty, I think Mel Stottlemyre agrees with your assessment of Dave Cone's mechanics, because he was talking, I think, about that very thing.
Well, they're also trying to bolster his confidence. He's had a very good outing so far. But there's no doubt that David Cone is more effective when he's on top of the ball, as it is termed.
Here's Lee Mazzilli. And he takes a strike. Maz has scored both runs for the Mets tonight. He singled back in the 2nd inning. Went to second on a wild pitch, stole third, and came home on Santana's ground out to short. Then he reached on a fielder's choice in the 4th and scored on an RBI single by Santana. You see, Dave Henderson is the new right fielder. Everything else remains the same from last inning, as this is just like spring training. Things change about every inning once you get past the 3rd.
You got that right. And this is a good game for Maz to get in. He's needed some at-bats. He's getting a chance today.
2-strike pitch grounded to short. Spike Owen gets a nice room service hop. 2 out very quickly here in the 6th inning. Well, let's take a look at another World Series highlight. This one from Game 5 at Fenway back on October 23rd. Don Baylor gets jammed, but his great strength enables him to push the ball into right field for an RBI base hit off Dwight Gooden. That was in Game 5, and Rice, a little gesture from the dugout afterward. Take a look at more of Game 5 later. First pitch, a breaking ball to Howard Johnson. Strike 1. No, it's Al Pedrique, who went in for Johnson last inning at third base. Pedrique hits it well to center, but not far enough. Ellis Burks hauls it in, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Bolton here in the 6th. So 6 complete. Rusty Staub says bye-bye. Tim McCarver will be back in to join me as we go to the 7th with the Mets leading 2-0. After this, for Nissan. Dave Henderson will bat for the first time after being inserted in right field for Dwight Evans last inning. Henderson, of course, figured most prominently and especially the American League Championship Series against the California Angels last year, but also had some shining moments against the Mets in the World Series.
I think he would have been the MVP had not Game 6, been blown by the Boston Red Sox.
Henderson, as you see, 240, 4 homers, 7 RBIs. And strike 1 makes it 1-1.
Let us not forget to thank the umpires who are out here tonight also. This charity game, as you see another fastball get fouled off by Dave Henderson.
Yeah, the umpires that are working this game are predominantly fill-in umpires in the major leagues, guys who work primarily in the minor leagues, but fill in for major league umpires when they go on vacation or when someone gets hurt or ill. slider way outside, and it's 2-2 to Henderson.
He's fallen in love with that pitch. I wish he would not do that, but that's something that he's going to have to learn on his own, I guess. The umpires in tonight's game, just to refresh you, is Steve Ripley behind the plate, Greg Bonin at first, Mark Hirschbeck at second, and Bill Hone at third.
Swing and a miss by Henderson on that better breaking ball. It goes down and away from the right-handed hitter. Another strikeout for Dave Cone. Well, let's go back to Game 5 of the World Series. And the fans chanting, Darryl, Darryl, and Darryl tipping his hat to the Fenway crowd. Tim Tuffle hit a home run off Bruce Hurst for the Mets and got New York on the board right down the right field line. But again, that game eventually won by Boston. Swing and a miss by Danny Schaefer, batting for the first time, hitting 147 so far this year. And it's strike one. Dave Cone has now struck out 6 through 6 innings of work. Fouled off the mask at Barry Lyons, and it's 0-2. Russ, I had you leaving the booth after the last half inning. I'm sure Tim's ears perked up when I said he was coming back in, but that isn't going to happen until after this inning.
Here we're going to see another side-on fastball that is right in the hitter's zone, actually. And it jolted Lyons before he makes another good pitch. And strikes out young Danny Schaefer.
Cone with an off-speed delivery here for strike 3. 7 strikeouts now for Dave Cone. He struck out the first 2 hitters here in the 7th. And Ed Romero will be the batter. Fastball tight for ball 1. Romero's 0 for 2. He's grounded out and struck out looking. 2 out and nobody on, top of the 7th. 2-0 New York. Fastball fouled out of play, and the count 1-1. And the game's in the bullpen, as always. Little hacky sack going with Darling, Sisk, Walter, and I'm sure out of view is Jesse Orozco, who's probably the best hacky sack player in the major leagues, maybe. Certainly on the Mets. Although that might start an argument. Right down the right field line and out of play about a half a dozen rows.
That's a fine game played outdoors for a period of about 3 or 4 months. I would say back in 1985, 84 for sure. That was a game that was being played inside the clubhouse to the chagrin of one old player, namely me.
Seemed to hang out around your cubicle too, didn't it? Base hit by Ed Romero to left field with 2 out here in the 7th. Only the 3rd hit Dave Cone has allowed. And Romero will be at first for Mark Sullivan.
Mark Sullivan.
He is certainly talking to himself out there on the mound right now. When you're actually on the mound, a lot of times, having a conversation with yourself may seem like you're losing it, but you're actually having more together because you're concentrating.
Mark Sullivan, who's hitting 156 with a homer and 3 RBIs, misses. Strike 1. And Randall K. Myers warming for New York. Fastball just missed. 1-1.
He was going to come in last inning, but they wouldn't quit the hacky sack game.
And to move that hacky sack game so somebody could warm up. There's that sharp breaking, late breaking pitch down and away, and it's 1-2.
We'll see if he's going to come with the sidearm swerve again. That's been something he's fallen in love with here this last inning.
He came inside and got Sullivan swinging. So Dave Cone strikes out the side. He has spanned 8 through 7 innings of work tonight. And the Mets still lead it 2-0 after 6.5. We're back after this for Exxon.
The Mets and Farmland Dairies are proud to introduce the all-new Junior Mets Club, now open for membership to Mets fans 14 and under. Members will receive exclusive club items, including color-action baseball cards, a pro-style batting glove, discount ticket coupons for special Junior Mets Club games, an invitation to a Junior Mets baseball clinic at Shea, and much, much more. To join, just send $6 or $5 plus 2 proof of purchases from Farmland Dairies Milk to Junior Mets Club, Shea Stadium, Flushing, New York, 11368. Please include, now this is important, please include your name, address, telephone number, and age, and allow 4 to 6 weeks delivery. Fans, the Mets play the San Francisco Giants Sunday, May 17th at 1:35 p.m., and the hits keep right on coming. All ladies 15 and over will receive a specially designed canvas tote bag featuring the Mets World Championship logo, courtesy of Sweet and Low. Tickets are available at all Ticketron outlets, Shea Stadium's advanced ticket window, or you can call 718-507-TIXX during regular business hours for all ticket information.
Well, here's Dave Cohn again. Mel Stottlemyre talking to him, and that's going to be all for David tonight as Kevin McReynolds is on deck. Rafael Santana grounds the first pitch to Glenn Hoffman, who throws him out and very quickly won away. So Cohn worked 7 innings here tonight, and the best 7 innings certainly since he joined the New York Mets.
Well, there's absolutely no doubt, as you see Kevin McReynolds coming up the bat now, that was a real boost to the spirits of young Dave Cohn. His flight to Atlanta tonight will be a lot better.
For sure. Kevin McReynolds takes strike 1 from Tom Bolton, who is still in there for Boston. McReynolds batting .280 with 5 homers, 10 RBIs so far. Breaking ball is high and away, and it's 1-1. Fouled out of play, and the count 1-2. Ball fouled the other way, still 1-2. Kevin batting for David Cohn with 1 out and nobody on in the bottom of the 7th inning. New York leading Boston 2-0. The Mets with 7 hits, and the Red Sox with just 3. 2-2.
Well, they say if you're a left-handed pitcher and you pitch in Boston, you have to be able to pitch inside. I guess he was working on it.
That was inside, but too low. And that breaking ball, a good one. Strike 3. Third strikeout for Bolton. Well, here's game 6. Dave Henderson in the top of the 10th inning. It's a leadoff home run for Boston here at Shea. That was on October 25th. That was just the beginning of the end. And what an improbable ending it was in Game 6. Glenn Dykstra with a swing and a miss for strike 1. Dykstra 2 for 3. 2 infield base hits. And his last time up, he grounded to first. Fastball for strike 2.
Young Tom Bolton definitely is on the losing end of this game at this time, but I would have to believe that the Boston Red Sox are very impressed with this outing.
Came in the second. 1-2 now to Dykstra after Steve Crawford had started the game and just worked the first inning, gave up just 1 hit, 1 walk, but no runs. Randy Myers appears to be ready and should be the next New York pitcher. Strike 3 called over the outside corner. So Bolton with a strong 7th inning. And now Rusty says bye-bye, and Tim comes back in. And guess what? It's still 2-0 Mets after 7. We're back after this for the good olds guys. Back to Game 6 of the World Series. The bottom of the 10th inning. Ray Knight with an RBI single. And the New York Mets mounted their comeback as Gary Carter scored. That was followed by the infamous wild pitch at Mookie Wilson by Bob Stanley. Kevin Mitchell scored to tie the game in the bottom of the 10th inning, and we'll have more later. Randy Myers, the new pitcher for New York. Jim Rice, the pinch hitter for Boston. And back in the booth, Tim McCarver.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. Randy Myers in relief of David Cohn. And I agree with you and Rusty. That's maybe a morale booster for young David, who struck out 8 and gave up no runs in 7 innings. Even though it doesn't count, it counts. Line to center, and there's Dykstra. So Jim Rice hit it right on the button. But Dykstra was there.
The center fielder,
Rice, the MVP in 1979 for the Boston Red Sox. #1 selection, June 1971. Leadoff batter, Ellis Burks takes a strike. Ellis 1 for 3, fine young player. Swing and a miss at the slider. Ground ball right side. Tuffle pointing to Magadan to get to first. And Dave cooperates. 2 away here in the 8th.
the shortstop, Spike Owen.
Spike Owen, the batter. Now, I understand this Ray Quinones, the shortstop for whom Spike Owens was traded, along with Dave Henderson, is doing a fine job with Dick Williams and his Seattle Mariners. Good player. The Red Sox didn't have the luxury last year of allowing a player to develop in the big leagues during one season. They needed a guy to win now, and that's why they made that trade. But Quinones is a fine, fine player. Seattle building for the future, so the trade made sense for both teams.
Seattle does have a lot of good young players.
There's Ron Darling. He'll start against the Braves' Zane Smith tomorrow night. Game time 7:40. We're on the air at 7:30. Right here on WOR. The fastball is low, 3-1 to Spike Owen. It's our old call letters. I was just seeing if Bill Webb was awake. WWOR. Swinging a foul tip. We'll check and see if he's awake tonight when we're going to drop that Queen of Spades on him on the trip down to Atlanta.
Bill, one of the all-time great Hearts players.
Fouled away.
Never saw a guy that could lose all his meal money in one short flight.
Yeah, on the West Coast trip, we get into insurance policies. Term.
We may have to start taking plastic pretty soon.
This one fouled back. And a souvenir from some of the Met zealots right below us. Well, I was just waving at during the 7th inning stretch, made the catch, and he is absolutely delighted. You're watching Mets Baseball 87 on WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey. First walk issued by Randy Myers, so Owen, the runner at first base, with 2 outs. It's 2-0 New York. And the batter will be Glenn Hoffman. Gosh, what a story. This young man, cardiac problems, bad knees over the last 2 years, shoulder operation, fastball is high, and he's battled through that adversity to make this ball club.
There are those who would call him a typical Boston player of late. Boston's had a lot of guys having to have operations and on the DL, and different injuries.
2-0. Randy Myers having some control problems. Hoffman invited to spring training by the Red Sox this year. Only 28 years old. He turns 29 July 7th. He fouls this one off. On the DL in 1985 with an injured shoulder, and then in 1986 he had a sprained right ankle, a mild cardiac problem that involved one of his mitral valves. I guess that's how you pronounce that, M-I-T-R-A-L. He gets a base hit here, and Owen goes on to third base. So the Red Sox with runners at the corners and 2 outs here in the 8th inning.
Well, we have a mystery player in the New York dugout. That masked man, Havitt Shaw, behind that mask, Roger McDowell, who, whether he's on the DL or not, is always involved in something in the clubhouse or the dugout.
Roger, a very sick puppy. Let's face it.
Lights are on up there, but we're not sure anybody's home.
Silo is not quite full with Roger at times. Mike Greenwell, the batter. Slider, nice play by Lyons. Red Sox play California weekend series, reuniting 2 teams that fought and fought and fought in the American League Championship Series last year. Remarkable comeback in Game 5 for the Red Sox. Since postseason play started way back in the early 1900s, as this one, what a play by Magadan. All right, even in an exhibition game, it looks good. Pick up on that story when we return. It's 2-0. Mets lead the Red Sox after 7.5. We'll be back after this word from the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. Wes Gardner, the new pitcher for the Red Sox.
Wes, as you see, 0-1 with a 5.52 and 2 saves so far this year, working 14 2/3 innings.
Coming back from shoulder miseries in 1986. Traded to the Red Sox in the Bobby Ojeda trade, along with Calvin Schiraldi, Lachelle Tarver. And John Christensen, the outfielder. 1-1 to Teufel. Tell you about that postseason play. In the history of postseason play, since its beginning back in the early 1900s, no team had ever come back from a 3-run or more deficit in their last at-bat. And it happened 3 times in the League Championship Series last year. And speaking of coming back, the famous hop that didn't hop.
Ray Knight coming home with the winning run in Game 6 on Mookie Wilson's ground ball. The thing that's probably not talked about enough is, even if Buckner would have picked that ball up, I doubt he could have beaten Mookie Wilson to the bag because the pitcher had no chance.
But he could have saved Ray Knight from scoring.
That is correct.
And that Knight was only on second base at the time.
And the game would have remained tied, of course, with runners at first and third.
Dave Magadan's first at bat on the night. 2-0 New York leads in this charity affair.
Magadan now hitting .308 with his 2 homers and 6 RBIs.
2-0 to Dave.
But you kind of feel that that's not the last time his average will be above 300 in what should be a pretty long and productive career.
He's going to have to earn his hits. We mentioned Ray Knight. Ray Knight was not a fast runner, and neither is Dave Magadan. And when you are not abetted in your hitting with good legs, you got to earn it. Joe Torre, remarkable season, 1971, the MVP in the National League, 363 that year. Ernie Lombardi, of course, the Snaz, one of the truly remarkable hitters. Won the National League batting championship 2 years. And I used to play him in shallow left field. I understand. It's 3-2 to Magadan.
Well, when you can't leg out those hits, it makes it awfully tough in the game today to hit over 300 consistently. Keith Hernandez has to earn his hits. Hernandez does not run that well, and he's a career 300 hitter.
Fly ball left field, drifting back is Mike Greenwell, and he makes the catch. 2 away here in the 8th.
The catcher, Barry Lyons.
Well, there are 32,247 here tonight.
All right.
And so that means a pretty good payday for both the Jimmy Fund, Cancer Research Society in Boston, and also the Mets amateur baseball program here in the New York area. We'll split the proceeds 50-50 from tonight's game.
And you add to that what Bill Webb is contributing to the pot. Rick Miner, our executive producer.
Bill's pledging all of his heart's losings from tonight's flight to Atlanta, which may help retire the national debt if it were pushed in that direction.
It's another thought. And it's 0-2 to Barry Lyons, who's 0 for 3 on the night. He's flied to right twice and flied to center once.
As you can tell, Bill has a lot of fans.
Ball 1, 1-2.
He only would let them show the one empty seat, but we know that there are more.
Ground ball, base hit for Barry Lyons. So he's the runner at first. 2 out here in the 8th inning. 2-0 New York. And the batter will be Mookie Wilson, who's 1 for 3. John McNamara on the left of your screen. Bill Fisher, the pitching coach of the Red Sox. The other gentleman in question. And from left to right, there's Buddy Harrelson, Mel Stottlemyre, and Davey Johnson. Ground ball foul. Mookie had an interesting comment in the paper this afternoon. When asked if he will think about that wild pitch when he was hitting in Game 6 in the bottom of the 10th inning, he said, most definitely. He said, and anybody who says that they're not thinking about the World Series when this game's played tonight is not telling the truth. 1-1.
Well, I'll guarantee you that nearly 33,000 in attendance tonight thinking a lot about the World Series and Game 6 in particular.
The mock Bill Buckner applause.
Buckner with a standing ovation when he was introduced before the game.
And that was the type of pitch it was, too, right there on cue. 2-1 to Wilson.
Well, Bob Stanley was the pitcher in the World Series. This is Wes Gardner, and the pitch was a little more down in the strike zone. But Mookie had a little deja vu right there as he danced out of the way.
Fly ball hit well to center. Burks is back, and he makes the catch. No runs, a hit, and 1 left. 3 outs left for the Red Sox. It's 2-0 New York, and we'll be back after this word from Ivory Soap. Another trip down the Primrose Lane that the Mets carved last year. Remember in Game 7 after Evans had homered? Gedman now pops one off the glove of Strawberry. And the interesting thing about that play, had Darrell not gotten up above the fence, that ball probably hits the top of the fence and stays in the ballpark.
Darrell with that great height and leaping ability, able to go up there and get the ball really before it had come all the way down. And here's Dave Henderson, who had one go off of his glove in Game 5 of the American League Championship Series for a home run against the California Angel.
And we saw earlier that Dwight Evans had the one ricochet off his glove, ball hit by Dykstra, so 3 times that happened.
Strike from Myers makes it 0-2 to Henderson, who struck out his first time up in the 7th inning. We're in the top of the 9th with the Mets leading the Red Sox 2-0. Ball 1 is inside, 1-2. Myers in relief of Dave Cohn, who pitched a strong 7 innings. He gave up just 3 base hits. He struck out 8 and walked only 2. Strike 3 call, a fastball right over the outside part of the plate. Well, let's go back to Game 7 for the Mets rally. Darryl Strawberry with a home run to right field put the final nail in the Red Sox coffin.
And speaking of nails, that's why Al Nipper nailed Darryl Strawberry this spring, was because after that home run, he didn't like the way that Strawberry ran around the bases.
Ray Knight had hit one before Darryl, and I wonder if he's hit Ray Knight in the American League this year.
Well, Ray hit his off Calvin Schiraldi, of course,
right,
in the 7th inning.
Well, apparently that has been laid to rest as Schaefer fouls one off and the count is 0-2. It's one of the few times that you will ever hear of a commissioner getting involved in an incident during spring training. But Nipper had sort of ballyhooed the fact that Darryl was going to get it the next time he faced him.
I think he was fined. I think the commissioner fined Al Nipper.
Danny Schaefer fouls another one off. It's 0-2 still. 1 out and nobody on in the top of the 9th inning. And that breaking ball low and inside. 1-2. Fastball a little bit low, 2-2. Up. Magadan coming in from first makes the catch, 2 away. So Randy Myers with 1 out to get here in the 9th inning, and it's Ed Romero who has played the entire game. He, along with Ellis Burks, the only 2 Red Sox players to stay in the game the whole time. Romero 1 for 3, single to left in the 7th. And the fastball is low for ball 1. Fouled out of play, and it's 1-1. The Mets, of course, won the first game of this charity series in Boston last September 4th. They scored 7 runs to win that game, coming from behind to do it in Fenway Park. And they lead 2-0 here with 2 out in the 9th, and it's 2 strikes now. A count of 1-2 on Ed Romero. A line drive into center, but Dykstra comes over to make the catch, and the ball game is over. A 1-2-3 inning in the 9th for Randy Myers, as he receives congratulations. And the game really means nothing, but the fans here tonight have had a very good time.
Yeah,
and
they have.
seen a pretty good ball game, Timmy, for the fact that it was an exhibition game.
Yeah, they really have. Guys played very well this evening. And the Red Sox back to Fenway tomorrow night against the California Angels, and the Mets travel in the other direction to Atlanta.
This is in spring training with Nipper pitching to Darryl Strawberry. And Darryl, of course, didn't like it. That was the second pitch that Nipper had thrown to Strawberry in the game. And there was a little bit of an altercation, but nothing major. And sort of the final vestige, I guess, of the aftermath of the 1986 World Series.
And I think this, more than anything else, probably gives you an idea of the ominous personality of Bill Webb. leaving on a violent note. And here it is, a charity game, too, right?
His kind of shot. Well, Tim and I are going to be back to wrap this one up. And, of course, Ralph is standing by with an edition of Kiner's Corner for you tonight here on Channel 9. The Mets win it 2-0 over the Boston Red Sox in the 2nd annual Jimmy Fund Mets Amateur Baseball event, this time here at Shea. We'll be back after this for AT&T. Well, let's go back one final time to Game 7, and I guess other than the ground ball Mookie Wilson hit to Bill Buckner, This is the scene that most Mets fans will remember as Jesse Orozco struck out Marty Barrett for the final out. The Mets won the 7th game 8-5 to come from behind and take the World Series 4 games to 3 and become world champions for 1986 as the flag flew here on opening day in 87. Steve Zabriskie and Tim McCarver back with you here at Shea, where the Mets have won the benefit game tonight 2-0 over the Boston Red Sox. Dave Cone with an outstanding outing, certainly his best as a Met, and I think you said it very appropriately, Timmy. The game doesn't count, but then again, it really does, especially if you're Dave Cone.
Yeah, in a benefit game, I think the one guy who benefited probably more than anybody else was Dave Cone. He pitched 7 strong innings. He gave up no runs while striking out 8, and the one thing he did tonight, he threw strikes. And in his 2 previous starts, he had control problems. The debacle in his opening start against the Houston Astros when he gave up 10 runs in 5 innings. But he pitched very, very well tonight. There's no question, and the Mets know that about his stuff. It's just throwing strikes.
Well, he went, I think, 6+ innings before he walked a batter in this ball game. He struck out 8 in his 7 innings of work and walked only 2, and that's a vast turnaround and a big improvement from his previous outings for New York.
His turnaround and some turnout tonight, too, huh?
32,000 plus on hand. Of course, the Jimmy Fund, the Cancer Research Fund in Boston, benefiting with half of the proceeds, and the Mets amateur baseball program, to which they've donated about $40,000 or so, I guess, for a number of years, benefiting youngsters here in the New York area. So a good time was had by all, and a good time will be had by many more because of the efforts tonight. And we'll be back with more here at Shea after this for Budweiser. Well, one of the little, I guess, subplots in this ball game is the fact that Rafael Santana started at shortstop tonight. He's been pushed out of the lineup since he was injured because Howard Johnson and Dave Magadan both hitting the ball well, and it's Santana who turns out to have a good night tonight and drove in both runs.
He had an excellent night. We mentioned David Cone, but Santana with an excellent night. And Rafi's going to get his playing time in. Right now, it's just the experiment going on with Howard Johnson at shortstop. The Mets having a bit of a problem scoring runs over the last week, and Davey's trying to get a little more punch in the lineup.
And the pitching has come back, too. But Santana tonight, our Budweiser star of the game, as Rafael drove in the first run. Lee Mazzilli scored both New York runs, and it was Santana with a ground out in the first inning, and then this ball through the hole into left in the 4th inning to again score Mazzilli and make it a 2-0 Mets lead. So with 2 RBIs on the night, Rafael Santana, this a Bud's for you. Well, now we're back to the business at hand for both the Red Sox and the Mets, for that matter. The Red Sox haven't had that great a year. They have an record under 500. They're 8.5 games back in 4th place in the American League East. The Mets started today in 3rd place, game and a half behind the surprising Chicago Cubs. And now New York goes to Atlanta after not a very good homestand where they were 1 game under 500. They need to really crank it up again.
Well, and Ron Darling will be called on tomorrow night. We'll be on the air at 7:30, and it's going to be an interesting outing for Ron Darling. He has not pitched well this year, even though his record does not indicate that he has given up a lot of earned runs. He's been wild early in the count, and it's a big outing for Ron Darling tomorrow night, and he hopes that he has half the success that David Cone had this evening.
I think he'd take it.
Yeah, you're right.
In Atlanta, pretty good hitting ball club. They have 3 or 4 guys in the top 10 batting averages in the National League. Well, that's the story tonight on the benefit game, the 2nd annual between the Mets and the Red Sox. We'll be back with a final word from Shea right after this for Sunoco.
Final score once again. Everybody having fun this evening. 32,000 watched the Mets beat the Boston Red Sox 2-0. Winning pitcher David Cone, a fine outing, 7 innings, allowing no runs and striking out 8. Fans, New York Mets baseball has been brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Manufacturers Hanover, the financial source worldwide. By Nissan, who invite you to test drive a hot new Nissan car or truck and see why Nissan makes you feel like driving. By the American Express card, don't leave home without it. By the Pan Am Shuttle, with flights on the half hour to Boston and Washington. By AT&T, the right choice. And by Burger King, where you get juicy flame-broiled burgers, the best food for fast times. Guests tonight will receive a Master Mechanic 7 1/4-inch circular saw, belt sander, variable speed reversing drill, and a jigsaw exclusively from True Value Hardware stores. Also, an Emerson 19-inch diagonal color television with auto control system. The executive producer of Mets Baseball 87 is Rick Miner. Produced and directed by Bill Webb. Fans, be with us again tomorrow night when the Mets take on the Atlanta Braves at 7:30 p.m. right here on WWOR. Now, stay tuned for Kiner's Corner. Our special guest tonight, the winning pitcher, David Cone. The announcers on the preceding telecast were approved and contracted for by Sterling Doubleday Enterprises, LP. Mets Baseball 87 is a production of Channel 9 Sports. See you tomorrow night, 7:30 from Atlanta.
Hitting home runs is the fun part of my job. Catching is the tough part, the sweaty part. But you won't catch me showering with deodorant soap. I made a break from all that. A clean break with Ivory. Look, that's basic, natural, honest soap. Not like soaps that cover you with smelly perfumes or deodorants. What's that got to do with clean? Ivory's clean is an honest clean. You can smell it, you can feel it.
Make a clean break, because you just can't beat Ivory's Honest Clean.
Even when you got a special date.
Nobody tells us like the Daily News.
It's this world champ's favorite sports section.
Nobody knows us like the Daily News.
Derek O'Connell of the Daily News covers the Mets like I cover pop-ups. Sometimes better.
Nobody shows us like the Daily News. Nobody knows it. Nobody shows it. Nobody tells us like the Daily News. Yes, New York's hometown paper.
Kiner's Corner is brought to you by Miller Light Beer. For great taste, there is only one light beer. By Mitsubishi Motors. Mitsubishi, perfecting the experience. And by NatWest USA, the people and the resources you need today and tomorrow.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to Kiner's Corner. And our guest in the show will be David Cone, who pitched a strong ball game against the Boston Red Sox in the second charity ball game. And we'll have highlights of the ball game, check out the scores. And we'll return in just a moment right after this message from Miller Light Beer. Well, our guest in the show, David Cone, and even though he's new to the New York area, the fans have picked up on him right off the top as they have come up with a new gimmick out here, the David Cone hats. And David, you pitched a strong ball game, good breaking stuff. The walks were down, the strikeouts were up. Everything looked great as you pitched against a good ball club.
Yeah, I did. You know, going into the game, I knew I needed the work. You know, I'd been struggling lately, and Mel Stottlemyre and myself have been working hard in the bullpen this last time and just basically trying to throw strikes and get ahead of the hitters.
What about the first couple of times out now? You really had a tough time the first start and also in the second start. Did you lose any confidence? Did it bother you any?
Well, you know, I'd be lying if I said I didn't. You know, you try not to let that stuff affect you. I know I can pitch on this level. It's just a matter of getting the opportunities to do so. You know, I've had some prime opportunities and I haven't taken advantage of them, and I realize that they're few and far between. So I really need to bear down and show what I can do on this level if I expect to stay.
Well, you have a great curveball, there's no doubt about it, and you also throw that little slider when you drop down. Any special reason why you go to the sidearm pitch?
Well, it's a pitch that I worked on in Puerto Rico. I learned it from Gaylord Perry, and the way to make it effective is not to use it too much, to save it for a tough situation against a tough right-handed hitter like Jack Clark. You won't see me use it against left-handers.
Well, you handled his case well over in St. Louis.
Yeah, that's the type of hitter that it's effective against. You have to save it for the right time, and the element of surprise is what makes it effective.
Did you ever learn anything else from Gaylord Perry, like a spitball?
Well, that's kind of incriminating, but
you
no.
don't have to answer that. You can take the fifth.
He told me when I get to where I can't throw the ball hard anymore, he'll teach me that pitch.
Let's take a look at the action as David Cone strikes out 8 in the ball game. Here are 6 of the strikeouts, and there's the David Cone heads. How about that? You got your own fan club, David.
Yeah.
This is Wade Boggs, a great hitter, American League's leading batter last year, and you strike him out with a fastball.
Yeah, that's just a fastball. I had him set up for it. I'd thrown him a couple breaking balls early in the count, and I just reared back and threw it by him.
Marty Barrett also tough to strike out, and you fooled him with a slider.
Yeah, that's a slider. I got him 0-2, and I wanted to make sure I got it out and away from him, and luckily I got him to go for it.
Ed Romero, the next strikeout victim. This is in the top of the 5th.
That's another slider. That's a 3-2 pitch. It looked like he was going to be inside and just kind of dipped over the inside corner.
And now Ellis Burks right here, and you get him on a wild pitch.
Yeah, that's the curveball, yeah, right there. It started out, it looked like it was going to be a strike, and it broke down and away.
Then in the top of the 6th, Glenn Hoffman, the batter.
And there's the sidearm slider I learned, yeah.
And Mark Sullivan.
And that's just a running fastball up and in. I really wanted to rear back and make sure I got it inside.
Well, that's major league stuff right there, David, and certainly this should get you back on the track.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to building on this as far as my next start goes. I think there's a lot of positive things tonight, and I'm hoping that I can carry that into my next start.
That's the longest you pitched since you came to the major leagues.
Yes, it is, and it felt good to stretch it out and be able to prove that, that I can finish strong. I was happy about the way I finished.
Well, David, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph.
David Cohn, and we'll be back to take a look at the highlights right after this message from NatWest USA. Well, the Mets have winning 2-0 tonight. Now won the first two of these charity contests, and the Mets have signed up for two more to play, one in Boston next year and the other back here. Now let's take a look at the highlights of the ball game. Of course, it all started off when Roger McDowell, wearing a nutty mask, got to have some fun altogether. Bottom of the second, one out, Mazzilli on third. Santana grounds out. Mazzilli scores, and the Mets lead 1-0. Mazzilli had singled, gone to second on the wild pitch, and had stolen third. Now, with Mazzilli on at second base, another base hit by Rafael Santana. The Mets are leading by a score of 2-0. Mazzilli had reached on the force play and gone to second on a walk to Howard Johnson. And now this play by Magadan at first base, a high leap to take the bouncing ball, and Mike Greenwell is out at first base to preserve the Met lead. Dykstra comes up with this drive to center field by Romero, and the Mets have ended the ball game with the Mets winning by a score of 2-0. Randy Myers coming up with the save in the ball game, and the winning pitcher in the game was David Cohn. Well, we'd like to remind you our Miller Lite contest right here on Kiner's Corner is underway once again, and now here's how you can enter.
You can win along with the Mets in our Miller Lite Kiner's Corner contest by filling out the official entry blank available at your participating Miller Lite retailer, or print your name and address and phone number on the postcard. As on each Kiner's Corner show, a lucky fan will win 4 tickets to an upcoming Mets game. All entries will be eligible for the grand prize of 2 season tickets for the Mets 1988 season. That address again is Miller Lite Contest, WWOR-TV, 9 Broadcast Plaza, Secaucus, New Jersey, 07094.
Well, our next segment is the Miller Lite Sports Desk, and we'll be back with that in just a moment right after this message from Mitsubishi Motors.
I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about Miller Lite. What a profound concept. It's got a third less calories than I probably thought it didn't even have. And it's less filling than it would have been if it was more filling than they didn't want it to be. Plus, it tastes as great as you expected, even if it had more calories than it didn't have in the first place. Think about that.
In other words, there's only one light beer, because if there wasn't, he wouldn't be saying there is. Right, yo?
Well, now let's go to Secaucus, New Jersey, and our Miller Lite Sports Desk.
Thank you very much, Ralph. You know, it's